Hey now, the boys are back in town. Why? Because we got Monday Night Football tonight. Tom Becker, Donnie right side here. Interesting game, man. San Francisco and Indianapolis. A lot of playoff potential on both of these sides, Tom. And usually if you had like Daniel Jones starting, so you know, I got a pretty clear indicator of where we're going tonight. The wild card, of course, is Phillip Rivers, and that's going to add to the intrigue tonight. How we feeling?
Feeling good about this game. I think the 49ers, despite clinching
Yeah.
over the weekend because of the Steelers win over the Lions,
Mm-hmm.
the 49ers still have a path to the number one seed at the NFC, and that's something that has to be paramount for them. They can win this game. They can win next week against Chicago, and then they play the Seahawks to close out the season. So they're still in a spot to win out and get the number one seed and get the bye, and that's what they want. So full go for them tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be, again, there's a lot of intrigue in this game, and also there has been some line movement throughout the week. So if we pop this up here and get down to the business, Tom, you see right in the middle of that screen right here, 61% of the tickets coming in on San Francisco. That line was 5.5. I'm going to check FanDuel here because I want to say we did. We had some 6.5s.
Okay.
5-6 days ago, but that number down, Tom, 5.5 for most of the week, now down to 4.5 as we sit here on game day with a total of 45.5. Do you, because I'm trying to factor in, I do think San Francisco is the better football team, but also understand this, a lot to play for in this game from Indy. It is a road game. Phillip Rivers' second game, which should be better than the first game, or at least, an understanding of the game plan itself, getting a weekend of practices. I didn't take a side in this game because, again, I actually, Tom, don't know fully what I'm getting out of Indy. I do think San Francisco wins, but it wasn't enough for me to take this game, Tom.
Yeah, I'm not surprised there's a little bit of a buy-in to the Colts, especially at 6.5. Now, moving 5.5 to 4.5 doesn't really bother me that much, but the 6.5 where it started, that's definitely a point of resistance. The issue I have with this game is the potential scoring or lack thereof from Indy, which is what I'm worried about for the most part. So seeing this game end as a 24-17 type of game in favor of San Francisco, I think is really where at least a lot of what I've seen from a lot of people is that's what they're expecting. Getting to the mid-20s for San Francisco, maybe you push to 27 or 28. But how much punch back we get from the Colts will determine everything for this game. It's not the offense from the 49ers. It's not the defense from the 49ers. It's not the defense from the Colts. The Colts offense is the most important factor of this game. If they can't do anything on offense, we're going to have a dead under, and we're going to have under in the game overall. Mike in the chat is saying I'm on first half under 23.5. I am also on first half under 23.5. That was one of my favorite bets for today.
Yeah, it makes sense. And again, it's so hard because we as handicappers, we don't always pick the winner, but at least you have a game plan formulated of what you think is going to happen. Hey, Patrick Mahomes is usually good. Okay, he's going up against Trevor Lawrence, who's played well, right? You say, okay, I can manage that game. I look at Brock Purdy. Their offense is playing well. Now, granted, some of the competition was a little bit lower, but the question mark, again, does start with Phillip Rivers. Let's get in some of these prop bets and take a look at what we're looking at. Last week, Tom, I'm going to bring up Phillip Rivers first. He's sitting at tonight 162.5 at FanDuel. He was in that 145 price range. He didn't need to throw the football last game. So they could be, you know what? Stay ahead of the sticks here, 3rd and 4s, 3rd and 5s, 2nd and 7s. We could be manageable, throw short passes, out routes, maybe a floater ball or two to Pierce down the sideline or Michael Pittman on a wide receiver screen. He's up at 162. I do believe this. I didn't think he performed all that well, but he knows the offense. He knows what he's looking at. Not going to put you in a bad situation. But he wasn't forced to pass. But a week in at practice, Tom, I do think Phillip Rivers is a better version tonight than what we got last week. So I didn't take him on 162.5. I think he can be in that 150 range, which at least gives you enough to move the football.
Right. That's what I would say. Again, seeing 120 out of him last week, does a week of practice plus potentially more of a passing game script?
Yeah.
Does that enable him to get an extra 40, 45 yards is what we're asking for? Because last week we saw the Colts defense really rally and step up and hold the Seahawks under control. The question I have is, will we see more offense from San Francisco against this defense? Therefore, he has to pass it. So I'm just looking at it and saying, does Phil Rivers need to throw the ball 33 times now? He was at 27 last week, 18 and 27 for 120. If he throws the ball 33 times, getting those 6 extra attempts, can we get 40 more yards on the board?
And also with this, like Matt's in here. What's up, Matt? Talking about, Phillip Rivers over 27. He has the arm strength to get it down there because it feels like, Tom, it's one of those sideline jump balls for like 30 yards that he can get, or it's a rocket screen that goes or a screen pass to the back. So I don't mind that. Like I haven't really played many quarterback props to the over because it's really a crapshoot. Like, hey, you're going to throw deep and maybe somebody gets a catch. And worst case scenario, your guy keeps on beating them deep like a drum. You can't connect or it's a pass interference.
Right.
Checked on that. But if we look, Tom, at the bottom here, Brock Purdy's 248.5. And I do think there's an interesting dialogue between these two quarterbacks because if you push Brock Purdy and the 49ers tonight, they'll move the football. Like it's not a great defense for Indy. Now, they are getting back Butler on the defensive line, which is really nice, but their secondary is damaged goods. They can be cooked. By the way, Ricky Pearsall is out tonight.
Right. Yeah, he's out.
So one of their deep threats is down, but still, Juwan Jennings is in that lineup. You still have, great tight end, which we'll get to in a few moments. But again, this game is going to be dictated what we see from Phillip Rivers. Here's what I want, Tom, in this game, to be honest. I want San Francisco to take the ball first. I want San Francisco to go 5 plays, 68 yards, and punch in a touchdown. But now the Colts are like, okay, well, we can still run the football, but we can't methodically slow everything down in this game. It's a great game, Tom, and we always take a look at the people saying, maybe you don't get in pregame. Find out where this is in the first quarter. Because if we're 3-3 at the end of the first quarter, no way this game's going over. Because Indy's like, we got you where you want you. We'll go on 7-minute drives to kick a field goal, and we'll be happy.
Right, that's what they want to do. They want to make this ugly. They want to do the same thing as last week. They want to keep this in a neutral or one-possession game at most. If they fall down and we get to halftime and it's 14-3 or 14-6, technically 14-6, still one-possession game. I get it. Yeah. Right, but the offense isn't built now with Phil Rivers to have explosive plays, to have 4-play drives in order to get them down. It's like, no, they want to wear them down and make this ugly. That's how they keep it close. That's how they would cover. And that would tend towards the game leaning under. They can't win a high-scoring game because there's just too much talent on the San Francisco side of things. This is not to say that Jonathan Taylor, Tyler Warren aren't talented, Michael Pittman, et cetera, but getting the ball effectively to them would be the issue and on a consistent basis.
Yeah, I think Phillip Rivers does throw a touchdown tonight, but it's, we're not getting those rookie prices. It's minus 235. He did throw one last week. They will be in the red zone, and you don't have to throw the football very far in the red zone. They're going to use a lot of pick plays there. Brock Purdy, 1.5 at minus 158. Again, dictated on what we get out of San Francisco, because I do think that you could sort of slow down that running game, and Christian McCaffrey will see what he is on his prop bets in just a few moments just to go over that. But I didn't take any touchdown props because, once again, I'm still trying to feel this game out what it is. If you push San Francisco and Brock Purdy, Tom, they'll score 28 points tonight. If they can just sit back and the game's mucked, they'll be happy winning this game 24-17 and get out of town.
That's right. And that's part of the issue is that the game plan or the game flow and the game script doesn't really impact the 49ers. It significantly impacts the Colts if it swings in the wrong way. So if that were to be the case, man, if San Francisco's covering 40, like Phil Rivers has got to go over 160. That's what it comes down to. And if the Colts are covering, then Jonathan Taylor's going over 22.5 rush attempts. That's how I see it.
Yeah, let's go over some of these rushing props here to see what we got cooking. George Kittle, I know you're on him, Tom. You like him 66.5. Obviously the lead dog. And again, you would love to have another team in the fight and be that, running mate competition where Indy, you tell me right now, Indy gets to 20 points tonight. Numbers are flying over, getting a great discount. Tyler Warren, 35.5. Don't mind him. McCaffrey, 40.5. Juwan Jennings, who I do think is interesting at 55.5. Once again, predicated on how this game plays out. Then you have Pittman, Downs, and Pierce. All three of those interesting to me. They're so low where, again, if you can get into a position where you don't have a running clock offense on Indy because they're happy to stay within 6 points, those numbers you can ladder up. Because if they're losing, Rivers will throw the ball 30-plus times tonight. Sooner than later, somebody's going to make catches. And you don't need, hey, man, I needed 68.5. 31.5, which, again, I got burned on Pittman last week. Had a great start to that game. Couldn't get him in the second half. Alec Pierce, 19.5. That's that guy down the sideline. Tom, one catch on a jump ball. He can make that. Any looks from Indy's side or those secondary options, even on the San Francisco 49ers tonight?
Yeah, so I do like George Kittle over 64.5. The numbers moved a little bit. That's one of my favorite bets up today. Alec Pierce really would be that guy. So he has an average depth of target of 19 this season, which is bananas. And his prop is sitting at 19.5. The question becomes are they even running those deep pass plays? Yeah. Because those deep pass plays require 3-5-step drops for Phil Rivers and exposing him to more hits. So I like the talent that Alec Pierce is, and I like his jump ball potential just to bring in catches. But I literally don't know if they're going to be running those plays that even has receivers going that far down the field. So I would buy into Michael Pittman. We got to remember, Michael Pittman played with Phil Rivers back in 2020, Pittman's rookie season. So I would buy into Pittman at anyone. And if you want to take that shot, it would be Pierce. I just think the talent alone could get him a catch.
Yeah, going over and taking a look here because I didn't really go down this rabbit hole at this point right now. But if you look, Tom, let me just bring up the this tab here on ESPN to get a look at Amir Abdullah. You see he's 8.5 on his number. Let me just bring this tab up so the people can see it here. All the way down by the bottom by use check, 8.5. So if we go over and take a look at ESPN, Tom, you have to throw out every game because Phillip Rivers didn't start this season except the last one. 5 catches, 32 yards in that game.
He led the team.
Yes.
He led the Colts in receiving yards that game.
Like, I look at that and I say, it does make some sense because the drop downs will be there. Now, I ask you this question. 8.5 seems like a cheap price. Does he have a total receptions number in this game? He can't. What is it, 1.5 maybe?
Let's see.
No, he's not even listed on this, but he might be listed. You know what? Let me go over on
total receptions for Abdullah. I'm not seeing. I will say last week he played on 23% of snaps last week, which is generally where he's at. But you're really only asking for 1, maybe 2 catches at that point to go over 8.5.
Yeah, he must have jumped up because I'm looking at scores and odds. They had it listed at 4.5.
Receptions or yards?
Yeah, or excuse me, yards. Yes.
Okay.
Let me see about. Do they have? Does anybody have anything for receptions?
I'm checking now.
Yeah, let me see. Abdullah.
I don't see anything on FanDuel. I don't see anything.
Oh, a half, Tom. Minus 310 is what it's listed. And it says FanDuel, which, again, is take that with a grain of salt. Mm-hmm. I see 1.5 at Bet365 at plus 120, but I don't know if they're live numbers. Sometimes they post it. Maybe they've taken them down. That's an interesting one. 2 catches. What would you rather have, Tom? 2 catches or the 8.5 yards?
8.5 yards. 100%.
Yeah. Yep. One little dump off over the middle, 3rd and 12, comes up short. Bing, bong, boom, and you get back to it. All right, let's get back to some of these prop bets and see what's cooking in this environment here. Let me go here, share this tab. Let's get back to it. So we'll go rushing props tonight. Jonathan Taylor, 96.5. By the way, that's up from this morning. Is that correct or no?
I think it might have been 90.
98.5?
I have to double check, but I think it was 90.
By the way, let me ask you a question, Tom. I asked Twitter, didn't get any response yesterday. Is there a place where you can see opening lines on prop bets? And we're like, because you can see everywhere.
Scores and odds has it.
Where is that though? Like they have the actual opening and closing lines?
I would have to find it, that tab, or I don't know, one of these bookmarks that I have somewhere saved.
Yeah, because I just threw it out there, but nobody responds, so nobody's probably checking. But I would love to see where some of these props open and where they close and where they sit, because I always find myself going like, was that 98? Was that 96? Unless I bet it and I know exactly what it was early in the week. It's like, okay, I can compound that here. Christian McCaffrey, 61.5. Brian Robinson Jr., 22.5. Purdy, 11.5. Phil Rivers, a half of a yard at 220. How the hell is he getting that? And Amir Abdullah at 10.5. Anybody crossing your eyes in that one? Or
Not really. The Taylor attempts is down from 23.5 this morning. It was 22.5. I really don't love any of them. And that's what it comes down to. Like, if I had to back one, it would be CMC. I think that they're just in a spot to control the game, and therefore they run the ball. I would prefer CMC and Taylor in the receiving game rather than the rushing for either of them.
By the way, what would you rather have here, Tom, on Christian McCaffrey? 61.5 or 12.5 as a longest rush?
12.5.
Yeah, me too. I really think I would. Like, that's one of those, like, 4 yards, 3 yards, 2 yards, 15 yards. Great, I'm out. I don't care what happens the rest of the game. They're a fun one to watch. Yeah, it's a tough one again. Which you think Jonathan Taylor is getting that. And you know what's funny too, Tom? Like, the scripting alone last week is throwing people off because you're right. Like, they want to hand the football to Jonathan Taylor. But sometimes the game dictates whether or not you want to hand it to him 25 plus times or he gets it 18 times at this game. So another one of those where it's like, yes, they should run it, but you get down 14-3. He's not running it that many times.
I know.
The Bull is in as a 3rd down back and away you go. It's such a fun game to try to think about and see how it works out. Touchdown props tonight. I want nothing to do with Jonathan Taylor and nothing to do with McCaffrey. Both of them might score touchdowns and multiple touchdowns. No for me, Tom. San Francisco, the double up, it's George Kittle and Juwan Jennings for me. Plus 115 and plus 140. If I go the opposite side, Tom, I'm going with the 2 big boys down in the red zone. 210 on Tyler Warren, 310 on Michael Pittman. I think that makes sense. I think 2 of those 4 can score tonight.
Absolutely. Tyler Warren and Michael Pittman, it just really comes down to the Colts moving the ball effectively and getting into the red zone, because I don't see these guys breaking off, 40-yard receptions. maybe it could be a catch and run. Like the San Francisco defense isn't amazing. It's not the same defense it once was. So sure, like a 15-yard catch when they're at the 40, and then all of a sudden he just yards after the catch, runs one in. Always possible. But I'd be worried about bites at the apple where they may get to the red zone once, maybe twice.
Yeah.
Therefore, they punch one in on the ground. They get one other opportunity. And then I think they're going to be settling for field goals. I think that's just where their offense is at this point.
And you know what? I have like a sneaky suspicion tonight, not on the Niners side, but San Francisco's defense. It's not very good. Like a plus 800 on an anytime touchdown. Like I'm just seeing like an old man in the pocket, Tom. He hasn't been hit a lot. You know, you get to him, strip sack fumble, you go the other way. And also, like interceptions are a lot easier. It's hard to intercept Matthew Stafford, even though they do. But you know, DBs don't catch all that well, and they're rockets coming at you. Put that Phillip Rivers pillow coming at you, man. Like, give me that interception.
So yesterday, I actually played the Texans defensive touchdown.
Oh man,
Gino, and that came right through. You know, I talked about that multiple times yesterday in IG with Scott.
Yeah.
And it came through right in like the first quarter, which was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
I would be making a play not just based on that, but I think the number is good. Like if the San Francisco defense number was at 6-1 or 5.5-1, I don't think I would love it. But the fact that you're getting it at 8-1 makes it so good. I would play a very small unit. I was at 8-1. The implied probability is so low. But at that point, I would be expecting San Francisco to cover. So I'd have a main play on San Francisco -4, 4.5, and then also a small unit on the defensive touchdown.
Makes sense. Let me take a look at some of these. By the way, we're at 4 as a listed price now for San Francisco and Indianapolis on Bet365. Little holiday rush bet here. We're taking me like $10 on now. Jonathan Taylor, 60-plus yards rushing. Christian McCaffrey, 60-plus yards rushing, plus 175. Not a bad price for both of those. But, again, it's an interesting game.
60 and 60 for rushing?
Yeah.
Let's just see what FanDuel is just for the sake of comparison. Yeah. So 60, McCaffrey for 60. They get you to plus 110. So they are like, you do get the plus 175. Obviously,
five action here. Let's go to passing props here, Tom, as a team. Let's take a look. Passing yards, 450. You're never going to, I'm telling you, you're not going to see this unless it's a monsoon outside. 415.5. Passing attempts, 61.5. Touchdown passes, 2.5 at -110. And passing completions at 40.5. Again, we talked about this last week. For some reason, Tom, I can't get my eyes to align on joint passing props. I can't do it. I can. You know, you look at numbers that always stick out. None of them ever stick out to me as something I want to bet. None of them.
I would honestly, if I was forced to, I'd play the under on attempts and under on completions. If I had to make choices, that's where I'd go.
Like, we're getting 3 touchdown passes tonight. Like, again, we're not sitting at a 33.5 with win. Like, we're in a dome. Like, that is doable. 2 for Purdy and 1 for, or 3 from 1. It doesn't even matter at that point. Like, you cash that ticket in. Let's take a look at some of these rushing props here as a team. We'll go team by team to start. We'll go Niners first.
Yeah.
Rushing touchdowns over a half -275. It's a great parlay piece. It's a great parlay piece. Rushing attempts, 27.5, which means a hell of a load for Christian McCaffrey tonight is what you would anticipate. Rushing yards, Tom, 103.5 with a quarterback that can scramble for 10 or 15. That's not bad. That's not bad.
That's where I think that's fine. Like, he could get there by himself. That's what it really comes down to. Like CMC can get there by himself is what I'm saying. So I would go there. Obviously, like you said, you have to use the rushing touchdowns as a parlay piece, and I think that's fine. I think they're both really solid bets. You'd have to find something to pair it with.
Like, and also those, because you get nervous with some games where it's like, I want to take, let's just say, the Carolina Panthers going up against a good team. Yeah, we know they're going to run the ball, but if you're down early in a game, it sort of wipes that out. It's like, they can't do it. They got to pass the whole game. This is one of those games, Tom, I don't feel like either team should be out of it where they can't run the football, and even more so San Francisco. Like, my thought process goes to Phillip Rivers is bad. He's actually injured. They look terrible. And San Francisco can get a double-digit lead at some point in this game. I don't see the Colts with a double-digit lead. Fast forward to tonight's 14-3 second quarter Indianapolis Colts. For the Colts tonight, same thing, -250. It's actually a little bit lower price here for the Colts rushing touchdown because the anticipation is maybe they don't score as much as, obviously, San Francisco. 125.5 as a total. Now, you're getting nothing from the quarterback. So sort of like collectively, you're like, 125, let me sign up. Well, you're not going to get a 30-yard scramble for a quarterback that helps you out anywhere tonight.
No, I mean, Taylor's got to do 90 plus of that on his own in order for me to feel confident. Because like Amir Abdullah is not going to be adding in too much in the rushing game. Yeah. He'll have a few carries here or there, but you really need to think that Taylor gets to 100 in order for the Colts team total rushing to go over 125.5.
Same as the rushing prop,
Line.
too, like the attempts, Tom, 29.5. Like, well, they ain't getting 29.5 unless Jonathan Taylor's in the mid-20s at that point. Because, again, you're not getting any rushes from the quarterback unless you get a cheap kneel down to end the half and you get 2 kneel downs to end the game because, simple fact of the matter is the Colts won, they're going to take a knee. Joint rushing statistics, 230.5. 57.5 rushing attempts, and then the touchdown rushing props, 2.5. But again, it's plus 250. That real line is 1.5 with a little bit of juice, but they're never going to give that to you.
No. Yeah, I don't like any of those. Like, there's too much dependent on McCaffrey. He gets there, but then the Colts aren't in a rushing game script. Those are tough bets.
Mike Parsons here. What's he got up here? Let me bring that up. Colts 2 field goals is minus 115 on FanDuel. Again, you know what? Back in the day, Tom, back in the day, 5 years, like I would love field goal props, but there's nothing worse in this day and age where it's like, hey, it's 4th and 3 at the 15. What are they going for? Like, that's painful. Nobody ever went on 4th and 3 at the 15-yard line 5 years ago. Now they all do it.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I know we got a couple questions about the TDs.
Yeah.
We had one there for Chop is asking for longest. That's for the DK king of the whatever they're calling king of the end zone, king of the whatever it is.
Is it a bet or a person?
It's you have to apply the promo for the longest touchdown. So it's whoever scores the longest touchdown.
It's player centric.
Yeah, player centric. So I just put it in for Alec Pierce. It was at plus 400. I don't really care about the odds. We're obviously looking for long touchdowns. And just because, like I said, the deep ball potential that he has, if he can catch one deep and run, I think he can be the longest guy tonight. It really just comes down to, as I said, we're talking about his total yardage. It comes down to, will Indy be calling those plays that force the ball downfield? That's what it's totally dependent on, because there's a realistic scenario, Donnie, that when the game's over and we look at Phil Rivers' throw chart, that we always see tweeted out, like next gen stats, all these, like there's gonna be no pass that's beyond 12 yards downfield. And that's a very realistic thing, that they just literally don't throw it down. But if they do, the talent on Alec Pierce should be the one to help get him as the longest guy. So I'm
look
on
at
Pierce.
These K props here. You got to throw 3 touchdowns combined, one with 155. We just went on bet 365. It's minus 110. Like, it's like 40-cent difference here, 45-cent difference if you go to 365. McCaffrey and Jonathan Taylor to combine for 3 touchdowns. Hate it. McCaffrey and Jonathan Taylor combined for 200 rushing yards. That's interesting, because I think that's a pretty good price at plus 220, factoring in that you're going to get a good game from Taylor around 100, and then you just have to have McCaffrey to push it. But again, somebody get 125, somebody get 75, it doesn't matter. The 2-to-1 price, I don't mind it. Not something I probably would bet at this point. My guy, Jay Louis Sa, yo, Mr. Don, fire the props. Which one is your favorite, please? If I had to give a favorite prop tonight, it's probably going to be, let me just go back here to this.
Mine is Kittle.
Yeah, he's got Kittle 66.5. For me, I always like secondary shots. I'm going to leave out to Warren, which I do think is decent, but it would come from Pittman. I would say my 2 favorite props, which one of them is going to hit, would be Pittman 31.5 and Alec Pierce 19.5. And usually in that mindset here, I lean towards the lower ranked wide receiver with yardage. So it would be Pierce. It's one of those times where you get 8 yards in the first half. You're right in that at that point. So I don't think Alec Pierce does get 20. Quite frankly, I think he gets it on 1 catch. Sideline, throw it up, 22 yards, 1 catch, you're in and you're out at that point.
Yeah, I agree with that. Pierce has the talent to get downfield for that. Pittman I just like because, again, he has some familiarity with Phil Rivers, given the fact that they played together. Granted, it was 5 years ago, all those sorts of things. But the FD special for CMC 5 rush yards per quarter at plus 125.
It's 130 now, too. Look at that.
I think you should be live for that the entire game, is the way that I would put it.
How you not? Unless, again, an 11-minute drive and a 3-and-out for. Yeah,
that's like something stupid that, like an 11-minute drive for the Colts that has them settling in a field goal there for the 49ers just come out and go pass. I think you should be live for that the whole time.
What would you like better, though, Tom? 10 yards for Taylor. I actually like the 5 yards for McCaffrey better than the 10. And by the way, it's a better price, 130 to 115 at that point, too. So I do the 5 yards is cheaper. You could, if you just tell me McCaffrey is going to get at least 1 rush in each quarter, I'll take my chances then. And that's 1 rush in each quarter.
I would say the same thing.
Yeah. All right, there we go, Tom. We got a game tonight. Again, This game you're not supposed to be interested in, but I love it. I love the
Oh, yeah.
intrigue in it. I think there's a lot of fun. And if you are looking, and I like to get down on like live game scenarios where it's like, you know what, reevaluate the half, reevaluate the first quarter if something's good out there. So that's where it sits for me. So just to recap tonight, I would take San Francisco, but I'm not going to do that tonight.
Right.
The total, again, completely up in the air. This game is going to determine who's going to. I do think Phillip Rivers can get his 160 because I think tonight he's actually going to have to throw the football, and he should be more comfortable than what you saw last week. I think Kittle does make sense. Kittle makes a lot of sense, by the way, for a touchdown, I do think as well. But as I told you, the two sides, it would be Kittle and Jennings, and then on the opposite side, it would be Warren, and then you double down with Pittman there. One of those guys catches a pass. What are you leaving with the people with tonight, Tom?
First half under 23.5. Got that at minus 125 on FanDuel. And then Kittle over 64.5. The line has changed a little bit. It's up to 66. Yeah. I still think it's fine. It's not that much of an increase. I think Kittle's fine for a touchdown as well. Alec Pierce for kick of the end zone, whatever the promo is called on DK.
Yeah. There you go. We're ready to go, rocking and rolling. A holiday week, boy. I tell you, as I get older, like today is December 22nd. Like it's like a teenager or whatever. I'd be all fired up tonight that Christmas is here. Christmas is going to be coming and going. I'm just getting old at this point. So, and away we go. Thursday schedule. You're going to have. Is Thursday's Christmas? Is that right?
Thursday's Christmas. 3 games.
3 games on that day. You got a couple games on Saturday, more games on Sunday. Week 18, which is always a wild week because you better get those lines early in the week because they're going to tip their hands, and then we get off to the playoffs, which certainly will be a lot of fun. That'll do it for the show tonight. Donnie Right Side and Tom Vecchio. See you guys soon. Enjoy the game.